Welcome into the show. It is 8 a.m. on the East Coast, 5 a.m. out west. Thanks for watching anywhere you are in America or around the world. Thanks for watching on this Friday morning. It is January the 24th. Can't believe this month is already almost over. Hope you've had a great week. Yesterday, the top of the league in the UK in the Premier League, none other than Liverpool FC, did it again. I don't know if you've been paying any attention to the league at all, but if you're a football fan, soccer fan, anywhere in the world, I don't know how you don't know what's happening in the UK. Liverpool continued its unbeaten streak in the Premier League, raising that tally to 40 straight matches. This is stretching back to last spring. And this season, they are unbeaten. They've won every single match except the away fixture in the fall at Old Trafford against Man United, but got their revenge with a victory this past Sunday. Yesterday, they had a tough test against Wolves at home the first time they played, and we're honestly a little fortunate to come out of there with the victory. Had some things go their way. Yesterday, same thing. Wolves gave up a goal to Liverpool in the 8th minute. Gave Jordan Henderson, with a head/shoulder volley off of a corner kick into the goal for a 1-0 lead. And Liverpool had chances to extend that lead, were unable to do so. Wolves, just after the break, tie it up. And a great bit of play by Adama Traore, and who crossed it in for to set up a header for Wolves in the run of play, not off of a corner kick. And so you got a 1-1 draw. This thing is playing on. Liverpool chance. Wolves had some chances. It was appearing as though that Wolves were going to at least hold Liverpool to a draw. And the thing that I love about this team is, and you saw it last season. So let's back up, not to last season, the fall 18 through spring 19 season. Let's go back to the season before. So Liverpool is fortunate; they get through group stages. They're not really competing for the league in that year, right? So this is 2 seasons ago. They're competitive. They're in the Champions League spots. They're not with Man City. That was the year Man City was just blowing everyone away. But they made a deep run into the Champions League and make it to the final. And they had the unfortunate final against Real Madrid. Obviously, you had the antics of Sergio Ramos, and Mo Salah goes out of the match. You had Karius in goal, who just had a howler of a game. Madrid wins that final. Liverpool lose, and for the second season in a row, they lose a final at the end of the season. The previous season, I believe it was the previous season, they had lost the final of the Europa League to Sevilla. And so you're wondering, what is this team made of? They're building. Are they going to ever be able? These were the questions being asked of Klopp. This is just a few seasons ago. Can he get them all the way there? They're playing better. They're having more success, but can they get all the way there? After that spring 2018 failure, and you get into the next season, you saw Liverpool's resolve, this mentality. I don't know if it was a mentality shift or if they themselves were just getting more and more confident in what they were doing. Regardless, that they became a much mentally tougher team in their matches, and they were playing more consistent football. They end up losing only one match in the Premier League last season. And that was an unfortunate loss away at the Etihad against Man City. And ultimately, that one game cost them the Premier League title. They finished 1 point behind Manchester City. They lose the league, but they're still alive in the Champions League, although hanging on by a thread, because in the first leg of the semifinal against Barcelona, as we all know, they had lost 3-0, should have been 4-0. Come home to Anfield, and they have that magical night. Barcelona lays an absolute egg, and they come back and win 4-3 in regulation, go on to beat Tottenham in the UEFA Champions League final. And it's as if last season, even though they came up 1 point short, and they did win the Champions League, you see this about teams that are champions. When they get knocked down, they come back, and they come back with a vengeance. There is a resolve to champions that I may have lost this battle, but I'm not going to lose the war. I am not going to live defeated. I am going to be victorious. It's a champion's mentality. And this champion's mentality has been building. You can actually trace those seeds back to that unfortunate and horrible night against Real Madrid in the UEFA Champions League final, the season before in the final against Sevilla. All of the seeds of greatness were being born through those adversities. Jurgen Klopp was not wavered. He doubled down. He brought in some specialists, throw-in specialists, corner kick, free kick specialists. He was working with the front office at Liverpool at looking at ways where can we get our edge, where can we get better, how can our players get that next level, how can we take those next steps. There was a resolve for not just the players but management, including Klopp, that we're going to get this thing all the way over the finish line. We will be the winners. And so after watching them come back from the failure against Real Madrid, beating Barcelona in that magical night and winning the Champions League against Tottenham, going into this season, I was thinking that Liverpool were going to be on a mission for the Premier League, and didn't even know whether the Champions League would be that important. Not that they would lay down in the competition by any stretch of the imagination, but I didn't know whether that would be as big of a priority, because you have that sour taste of 1 point. They've never won the Premier League. They've won all these first division titles, but since it became the Premier League, in the branding and the setup and structure there in the UK in the early 90s, they've never won the league. They've come close, but they've never won the league. So I'm watching, I'm waiting to see, and I'm also unsure. One of the toughest things to do is not to come back from adversity, and that's really tough. But it's sometimes even tougher to come back from victories, because you want to take it easy. I've arrived. I get comfortable. I get complacent. Would this group get complacent? This was a question that needed to be asked of Liverpool. It needed to be sorted out. Could they stay hungry? and they start off the season, and you can just tell in the interviews with the players, you can tell in the comments from Klopp, you can tell in the way that they play, they work, they never give up, they expect to find a way to a win. And their one match this season where they drew away at Old Trafford, Jurgen Klopp said of that match, I only saw my team for one half of that match. The first 45 minutes of that match were garbage. And that's the standard. The standard is to themselves. The standard is to the identity and the picture that they're trying to build of themselves. And you're watching this play out game in and game out. Now we get back to yesterday's match. It's still 1-1. They're building towards the end of this match. Liverpool is trying to find a way to win. They are not comfortable with sitting on a lead. If young players could get this mentality, so many more would make it, and make it at a much higher level. The mentality of a winner. You punch me in the mouth, I fall down, I get right back up. You knock me down, I get right back up. I see adversity, I thrive in adversity. I find a way to come out on top. Throw in, I believe it was in the 83rd, 84th minute. Ball comes in on a restart, something they have rehearsed and worked on. This was not left to chance. This wasn't just a throw in, let's just get the ball back in. There was a purpose. There was a pattern. There was something that they had seen in video analysis that said, this is how we're going to set these throw-ins in and set them up, and this is how we're going to try to execute. The ball comes in. Mo Salah dances in and around off the corner of the box with some defenders, and the ball gets knocked away, but not too far. It's played right into the path of Roberto Firmino, who comes kind of laterally back towards the center, finds his window, puts it on his weaker foot, his left foot, and bangs it in. Keeper, no chance. 2-1. Liverpool hold the lead for the final 5 minutes and stoppage time. 2-1 victors, and the train keeps rolling down the track. Sadio Mane goes down with an injury. We'll see how that affects them. We'll see who steps up. But I expect Liverpool to keep going and to keep fighting and to keep working. Next man up. Let's go and get this. And hopefully Mane's not out for too long. But just watching this team, they play with such effort front to back. I mean, the front line of Mane, Firmino, and Salah, who come back and support and help. When the team doesn't have the ball, they're all helping off the ball. They're all working. They're trying to take away angles. They press from the front. They try not to allow the other team the opportunity to just pick passes out and play out of the back. The pressure that is constantly on you all over the field. Everyone's looking for the killer pass, including the goalkeeper. We saw that against Manchester United at the very end of the match when he has the assist all the way to Salah for the second goal of the match on Sunday to win 2-0. That was Allison looking for the killer pass. That is not the first time that he has gotten a ball out to someone to release and attack. Everyone from the goalkeeper to the top line are always looking for the killer pass. They're always working in support of the team. You listen to their interviews. It's not about me. It's about what we do. Yes, I love to score. Yes, I love success. Yes, I like, being able to get this or do that or whatever. But the most important thing is the team. Everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid. Everyone is on the same page. That is a credit to Klopp. That is a credit to his staff. That is a credit to the front office. Everyone is on mission. And it looks like, I can't say with all these fixtures, they're 10 fixtures away from setting the unbeaten streak record for the Premier League at 50 matches, consecutive matches unbeaten. But I don't know if they'll get there. However, it looks like they're well on their way to the prize that has eluded the club for the entire existence of the Premier League, and that is winning the league. So if you are a young player, if you're just a fan of the game, I encourage you to just pay attention to this team this season. They are playing very well. It's not always like just beautiful, patient, although they can play that style of possession-based soccer, but their version of positional play is working very, very well. It is different from a Pep Guardiola style of play, but they are playing incredible football, and it is beautiful to watch. And to watch the team, it's a team in sync. And that's one of the things in soccer and football is one of the hardest things to achieve is having all 11 players on the field in sync. Because every player in every moment has decisions to make. It's not like American football where you can call a timeout, call everybody over and go, okay, hey, man, I need you to line up over here. I need you to line up over here. I want you to run out there. Like everybody knows, all right, on this play, this is where we're going to be. Be there. All right, break. Let's go. It's not like that in soccer. American football, you can do that. Basketball, you can call a play, and you can say, okay, we're going to go here. Everybody. In soccer, everybody's having to move in relation to the ball, in the relation to where you are in the game, in the relation to where you are on the field. There's so many other factors, and every player's having to make a decision. That's why they call it the player's game. Players decide matches in how they play, and what influences that, and this is what is so brilliant about Pep Guardiola. It is what is so brilliant about Jurgen Klopp, is that you have managers who have figured out how to influence and impact those decisions and create consistency of good decision making around the field to get their teams in sync. Now, it's not always in sync. It's not always in sync for 90 minutes, but it is in sync a lot of the time, and that is why Liverpool's having more success than anyone else in the Premier League this season, even more than Manchester City. They are staying in sync better than anyone else, and it is just amazing to watch. It's very inspiring to watch, and I'm a fan of the club. They are my favorite Premier League team. I say this quite often. Barcelona is my favorite club above every club in the world. But I really, 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 really like Liverpool. They are a fun group of players to watch. And obviously, just a few years ago, they were just trying to find a way into the Champions League. To see the progression of this club under the Fenway Sports Group ownership, has been remarkable these last few years. I knew when they brought in Klopp, he was going to have success. Didn't know how long it would take. Didn't know exactly what it would look like, but I felt like he was a perfect fit for the club, and it's turned out to be a marriage made in heaven. And it'll be fun to watch the remainder of this season, and hopefully Liverpool can keep this up, set the all-time streak, and get what they covet the most, and that is that Premier League trophy. Our sponsor this half hour is Duktig Brand, DUKTIG brand.com. And I want to tell you something about Duktig Brand. Right now, they're have made open an application to become a Duktig FC member. And you should check that out. You can find more information by connecting with them on their website at duktigbrand.com. You can also find them on social media and find a link there to fill out that application. It is well worth it, and it is only open for a limited amount of time. So if you have any interest in becoming a Duktig FC member, you should check that out today. Fill out that application and join Duktig as a brand member. As well, if you want to go to the site duktigbrand.com, place an order, get you a coaching notebook. The seasons are kicking off everywhere. Get you a coaching notebook that can help you kind of keep your thoughts collected, etc. When you do, use promo code DWShow. You'll get 10% off of that order, and you can do all of that at duktigbrand.com, DUKTIG brand.com, using promo code DWShow, and you will get 10% off of your next order. We'll be right back after this. Welcome. Today we're kind of doing a roundup of some different topics that we weren't able to get to earlier in the week on the show. So one of those topics, we started off today's show talking about Liverpool and just the mentality of becoming champions and remaining champions, striving to be champions, to be a winner. one of the other things that we wanted to look at and cover what came out of Chicharito Hernandez, who has come to Major League Soccer this week in a transfer from La Liga and Sevilla to the LA Galaxy, and he is on his YouTube channel, has a video of a phone conversation he had with his father back in Mexico. Now, the video itself is very, like there's nothing controversial about the video. Now, some people have made this thing out, in my view, to be, much bigger than it was. I didn't take it that way, but I do think there are some takeaways from the video that are helpful and aren't necessarily like drama, but they are things to consider in terms of some of the comments coming from Chicharito to his father, and kind of just processing this moment. And where the controversy arose was he's 31, and there was a lot of speculation about, is it the right time for him to come, etc. And he's talking to his father back in Mexico, and it's a very emotional conversation. There are comments back and forth, and the thing that I found very moving was the emotion and of the comments of Chicharito to his dad, and what he's processing is this is a new chapter. The dream, as he talks about in the video, and I am not, reading these comments verbatim, but I'm just going off of the kind of the theme of their conversation. The dream growing up in Mexico for these players is to get to Europe. It is not to come to Major League Soccer. Liga MX is a bigger league, is a better league than Major League Soccer. They're not dreaming of coming to MLS. Now, one of the things that Carlos Vela found by coming to LAFC, one of the things I think that has enticed Chicharito is watching Vela, who came to MLS at LAFC, is the fact that they can get paid and may get paid even much more than they would get in Liga MX in Mexico at this stage of their career, and the level of play is not near as high. Therefore, they can have even more success on the field. In other, it's like playing men against boys. That's what Carlos Vela has looked like in Major League Soccer. He's been very dominant. And Chicharito, at this point of his career, is looking at it going, man, I'm 31. I can get paid really, really well. I could come a lot closer to home. In some senses of the word, because of the Mexican American population in and around LA and Southern California, it might even feel like home. I can live in LA, one of the most famous, best, brightest cities in the world. I can get paid really well. I can play at a high level against a lower level of competition. There's all these factors in his head about, why this might be the right time. And he's processing this journey, and it's emotional. And he's not trying to be disparaging to Major League Soccer in this video. It's just raw emotion. And he's coming to a realization that the dream for Chicharito, as I said, so many Mexican footballers growing up, is to get to Europe, to make it in Europe, to be successful in Europe. Rafa Marquez, who played at Barcelona, he was an inspiration for guys like Chicharito. He was already doing it, and many others were inspired to do that as well. And that was one of Chicharito's, that was his ultimate dream. I want to go and play in Europe. I want to make it in Europe. I want to be successful in Europe. That is my validation. That is that we have done well, that we have played well, that we have arrived, that all of the work we have put in. And you hear that emotion when he's talking to his dad. Thank you. We put in all this work. He's not talking about himself. He's about he and his dad have worked together to make him into a good footballer that could make it in Europe, that could do things at the highest levels in Europe. And then where people have tried to make out this controversy is when he gets to this point where it's raw emotion and he's processing this new chapter, this decision, all of the factors that go into the decision, the byproducts that come out of this decision with his dad, and then he makes this statement talking about retirement. Now, for Major League Soccer loyalist, apologist, Don Garber, chief among them, this is a very offensive word. It is essentially a curse word for Major League Soccer leadership. They hate the word being attached to the league. But the reason the word is attached to the league is because of the league's decisions. They've brought in players past their prime, paid them well above market to use them as marketing tools, basically like a circus clown, to try to grow the league and attract eyeballs and attention. It's essentially their player version of the International Champions Cup in the summer, where you have these friendlies dressed up as a real tournament, and the likes of a Barcelona and Real Madrid and Manchester United and Liverpool, and you have Juventus and AC Milan and all these different teams coming over and playing these friendly matches, and they go on parade around the country, and all these crowds come out and watch, because for many people this is the only chance you're going to get to see some of these teams and some of these players, and it's a big circus act. It's not a real competition. It doesn't really matter. Basically, what's happened on the player side is MLS has for a long time had the same strategy with players. Let's bring in David Beckham. Let's market David Beckham. We have one of the best players in the world who's playing in our league, and we're going to dress him up as that. Even though at that point in his career, he was not one of the best players in the world. He was still one of the most popular. He was always ranked as one of the most beautiful, but he wasn't ranked as one of the best on the field at that point in his career. But they bring him over. It's a big marketing show. It was a turning point for the league. And then they've continued that trend to try to bring in players past their prime. And this word retirement got attached to it. That these guys are coming over to get their last big payday before retirement. Hence the retirement league. This is where the stars go to the nursing home. It's a nursing home league to get a big payday, go on parade around the league, help the league grow, and in exchange, we're going to pay you really, really well, and then you'll ride off into the sunset. Now, that is not to say that Robbie Keane or David Beckham or Zlatan Ibrahimovic or any other designated player, Thierry Henry, etc., didn't come over and play and try to grow the game or do a good job. I'm not saying they all just came over and took it easy. What I'm saying is this has been the perception of the league because of the age of these players. They're not bringing over Sadio Mane at 25. They're not bringing over Mo Salah at 25. They're not bringing over Messi or Ronaldo at 25. Going right into their prime. Neymar. The top level talent in the world is not coming here in their 20s. They're coming here after 30, somewhere in that window where they're looking at the back end of their career and they're heading for retirement. Now, Chicharito's comments to his dad where he uses the word retirement is he said, and he explained this in an interview yesterday about his decision to join MLS, and talking about the video to kind of clarify things. He said that it's the beginning of retirement. He said it's so simple. I think all over the world, but especially in my country, we love and we are like obsessed with drama and excess. And so when you say retirement, it's like, oh, tomorrow he's going to announce retirement. He continued, they didn't really listen to what I said. The beginning of the retirement. The retirement could last 10 years. You never know. Hernandez returns to North America after almost 10 years in Europe and has no regrets about a career that included successful stints at Manchester United, Bayer Leverkusen, and Real Madrid, picking up 2 Premier League winners' medals and the Club World Cup title. I did everything that I could. There were people who didn't play me and let me express myself as I would have liked, but it's part of football. I come back as a Mexican football legend, as much as some may be bothered by that. He wasn't saying I'm done. Him coming to Major League Soccer was not him saying, I'm going to retire. I'm going to come here and just take a paycheck for a year and then I'm done. That's not what he was saying. But there's such sensitivity with Major League Soccer about that word and the attachment to the league. I understand why they jumped on it. And I understand why those of us who are critical of the league in the way that it's run and the fact that it doesn't strive for greatness, it does not strive for excellence, it does not strive to be world class, and it bothers us that it's America and we're not even trying to be the best is a problem for us. And so some of us jump on that as well and go, oh, look, here we go again. But what he was really saying is, Dad, this is the end of a chapter. 10 years in Europe, this was the dream. I've reached the top. And this is where MLS, even though he's not saying this is my retirement, he's saying this is the beginning of my retirement, because for him, the ultimate was Europe. And he did it for 10 years. And I think he would have stayed in Europe another year, maybe 2, had Major League Soccer not come really, really pushing hard to get him here. But he recognized, hey, this might be the best offer I get to come back to North America, and I can get paid really, really well. He's looking at Vela. I could get something like that going in MLS. This could be kind of a new chapter, fresh wind for my career. And however long this lasts is how long it lasts. But the ultimate chapter of my career, the 10 years in Europe, the thing that you and I have worked so hard for, Dad, that piece is over. And there's that emotional realization that it's over, that I'm walking away from the ultimate dream, that my time in the promised land has come to a close. Now, where I see Major League Soccer in all this is they've got to really listen to what he's saying. He's not trying to be disparaging. I don't think he meant any ill will towards Major League Soccer, but he did speak a lot of truth about the perception of the league and what I would also classify as the realities of the league in his comments to his father. When he classified it by saying it's the beginning of the retirement. Now, again, for him, in his mind, this was a moment of retirement, beginning of the retirement, because for us, the ultimate prize was to go to Europe and conquer Europe, to play well, become a legend, to achieve all of my dreams growing up in Mexico, getting to Europe and being a great footballer, achieving success on the field, having a long career on the field in Europe. That was the dream. It wasn't MLS. So that's the first reality Major League Soccer has to understand. Kids are not growing up around the world. They might here in America, but I don't even think the American kid. I think the American kids aren't growing up here dreaming of Major League Soccer. They're dreaming of playing in Europe, and their basically kind of fallback plan is, okay, well, I'll play at MLS. But they're dreaming of playing at Real Madrid. They're dreaming of playing in Bayern Munich or PSG or Manchester United or Juventus, Barcelona, Liverpool. They're dreaming of playing. And that's what Chicharito had, the same dream. Playing at the biggest clubs in the world. And they're in Europe. So that's one thing I think Major League Soccer's got to face. The reality that is the dream. So what do we need to do as a league, as a country, to change that so that players around the world grow up dreaming of playing in America? We have the biggest, the best economy in the world, the best sports economy in the world, and yet our top league in this country is a third-rate league. It's not good. It's nowhere near good. And the players are telling you, not in a direct, confrontational, disparaging, like trashing the league. It's just the reality. When you hear them tell their authentic truth is that I grew up dreaming of playing in Europe. So that's the first thing that Major League Soccer's got to understand. First thing they've got to realize, that they're not dreaming of coming here. Secondly, they still view Major League Soccer as the place you go once you've gone as high as you can go in Europe. That it is a destination on the way to retirement. It is not a destination to be at the top. Now, that's just a reality. Major League Soccer may not like that. Don Garber may be just completely just frustrated with the perception of the league in terms of the fact that kids are not growing up dreaming of MLS as much as he wants to try to claim that they are. They're not. And they're also the players who have made it, the players who have had success, the players who are conquering Europe. They're looking at MLS, but they're looking at MLS as, hey, at this chapter of my career, as I am at the beginning of retirement, as I've reached the top as high as I could go for as long as I could go at the top levels of the game here in Europe, on my way down, what is my path to retirement? And what has become acceptable in Europe is on my way towards retirement. However long that lasts, I'm going to get paid really well. I'm going to get showcased as a star. I'm going to get pampered and treated really well by the league. I'm going to come to MLS. And this is part of that beginning of the retirement. And as Chicharito said, it may last 10 years. But in his mind, he's reached the top, and this is on the way down. And if Major League Soccer ever wants to become quality, if they ever want to reach for excellence and greatness and becoming one of the best, if not the best leagues in the world, they will have to do a lot of things differently to change the mentality and perception of the top players in the world that are playing in Europe. And as long as you continue to hear these comments from players about the league, you know, as a fan, if you're a fan of Major League Soccer, if you're Don Garber himself sitting in his office, you'll know where the league sits in reality, because the players are telling you everything you need to know. They don't want to come here as long as they feel like they're really competitive. As long as they feel like they're at the top of the game. As long as they feel like they have things left to contribute, things left to give to the game at the highest and most competitive levels of global football. They're not coming here. Once they feel like they can't be at that level, where they can't consistently reach the top, that's when they start to consider, okay, what's next? Traditionally, what has happened, and you see this in England a lot, you see it in Spain quite often, you see it in Germany, you see it in all these big leagues. You'll have players that have played at the biggest clubs, and as they get older, they want to stay in the game, they want to still play, and they feel like they can contribute at a really high level, but maybe not quite Champions League level. Maybe they can't reach that level anymore consistently. So they'll go and play for a lower table team, a smaller team, maybe a championship level team. One of the interesting things I've observed about the Premier League is it seems like there is this unspoken relationship between Manchester United and Everton. Over the years, you've seen Manchester United players who have kind of reached, the end of their top level play, who would see the writing on the wall and they would leave Manchester United, knew they could still be a contributing player and a good player in the league, and they would go play for Everton. And, it's not the only club that this has happened to, but it happened several times where you would see Manchester United players go and play at Everton. Everton, who is historically a very relevant club in the Premier League, over the last 10, 15 years, has not really been at the top. I mean, it's been more of a kind of top 10 club, but not really pushing for Champions League consistently or anything like that. And so these players have left Manchester United, who is a club that wants to push for Champions League, and for many, 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 many years were always in the Champions League, and they have gone to Everton. You've seen this in other clubs as well, where players who have played in some of the biggest clubs in the league, as they get older, they realize, okay, I can't stay at this level. It even happens with younger players. Like a Christian Teo who came up through Barcelona and he realized, I'm never going to really get a shot here. I'm just not at this level. And so he moved on, and he's playing at smaller clubs and has played at smaller clubs throughout La Liga, because he was just not going to be able to play and match up and have any kind of career on the field staying at Barcelona. That has been kind of the pathway for players, right? They find their level. It's like water. They're always finding their level. Chicharito, and what he's looked at, is finding his level. And he's realized, okay, hey, this dream, Dad, that we had, that chapter has come to a close. And since that for us is the top, this is the beginning of retirement. And like he said, it could last 10 years, but it's on the way down. And for MLS to change that, they're going to have to change a lot about how they do what they do. And That means the way they treat players, the way they pay players, the priorities they place on on-field performance, including sporting merit, that would go a long way into changing the perception of the league. So I don't think there was any reason to be like really over dramatic or crazy with his comments, but they were insightful and really gave a reality check for where Major League Soccer sits in the eyes of players around the world. And look, I think MLS is better for having Chicharito, but I think MLS would be better for having a lot more Chicharitos in the league. And him coming in, he is not the only one at his level over in Europe. There are many players in the world that are at his level that would instantly raise the profile of the league, the competitiveness of the league, and the ways to get to that, to where you have more Chicharitos and more Carlos Velas in the league. The way to get there is the way that Major League Soccer needs to go if they really want to be a quality league. Otherwise, everything else is just empty marketing slogans and not reality. Speaking of reality and changing reality, Charity Water changes the reality for people all over the world. And the way they do that is by providing clean drinking water. And they do amazing work. Their financial model is amazing in that 100% of the money that you donate goes to providing clean drinking water. It does not go to pay salaries. That is an incredible financial model. And you can learn more about Charity Water by going to charitywater.org to learn more. Do that today at charitywater.org. We'll be right back after this.
No one, no man, no woman, no child should ever have to drink green water with bugs, with algae, with disease in it. Bad water and a lack of toilets kills more people than all the wars in the world. We know how to bring clean drinking water right now to every single person on earth. And when you can bring water into communities, it truly transforms them. It changes everything. Or you could know that you'd made a difference. You could know that you had truly impacted the life of a family, of a community, of a region. There was either clean water or there wasn't. We believe in a world where every single person has clean and safe water to drink, and we will continue fighting until that happens.
As we wrap up this week, as we wrap up this Friday, January the 24th, thanks for watching today. As always, really appreciate all the support, the comments that we get off all over the place through social media, emails, etc. Thank you for the support and for following the show. It is my privilege and honor and fun, joy, whatever words you want to use, bring the show to you each and every weekday, and really kind of covering the game. And what I hope is, and what we try to do, our aim is to bring you content that is, looking at the game in an honest, authentic way. and learning of stories of people all over the country who are, invested in the game around the world, who are invested in the game, whether that's financially, invested emotionally, in their time and their talents and their energy. Maybe they're players, maybe they're coaches, maybe they're just fans of the game, and they want to see it get better wherever they are, or they're doing great things. Whatever the case, we enjoy bringing those stories to you each and every weekday. I want to close today's show talking about something a bit personal here, and that is for a while I used to coach, and I enjoy coaching. I have not had a lot of time to do that for the last couple of years, and for various reasons, and travel, busyness, projects going on. And just didn't feel like I could really contribute to the game as a coach for the last couple of seasons, and so I haven't really been doing that. I would help out here or there, mainly just kind of work with my own kids, and that was that. Like, didn't necessarily look like I was going to get back into coaching anytime soon, but an opportunity came for me to take a team this spring, and in kind of evaluating and looking at everything, I was like, I think I can make this work, and I think I can get everything lined up to make it happen. And so I decided to jump back in and coach a team this spring. And last night we had our first training session, and I had sent out a bunch of notes to the parents. For me, that's just kind of the way that I do things in terms of coaching. I like to communicate. I like to over communicate. I'd rather you be certain of what I mean rather than guess. And so I'd sent out a lot of information, a lot of emails, follow-ups, before our first training session last night. The weekend before, we had a team social where we met up, and all had dinner, and the boys, got to hang out and play for a while, at a food container park, and it was a nice, just casual evening, kind of people hanging out. It was very enjoyable, and that's one of the priorities for this club that I'm coaching at this spring, is kind of bringing in and building on this sense of community, and I really, really like that, and like the way that the club has made that an emphasis and priority for the different teams as well as the coaches. And so last night we had our first training session, and it was like riding a bike. Just got back out there and got back to work. And one of the things that I enjoyed is it was a wet, chilly night, and the boys just got into it. They kept just competing. A lot of learning, a lot of trying to figure out why their weaker foot wasn't quite working the way they wanted to in some of the rondos and things that we do. But it was a really good night, and I really, really enjoyed it. But it reminded me of some comments that I read recently on Twitter concerning youth development. And, it's a point that I had thought about before, but had never, I would say really connected the dots all the way through in terms of a cohesive, thought about this. Like, I've kind of talked about this before in coaching, talked to other people about this before. I think the field size, for example, that U.S. Soccer uses for our age groups, beginning at, 11, 12 through, really 14, maybe even 15, but especially 14 is absurd. And it places way too much emphasis on bigger, faster, stronger at a time in players' physical development where you could see massive disparities in weight and height, because of puberty. People are just growing at different rates. They might get their speed at different times. It is just a too big of a variance. And so what happens is a focus is placed on the biggest, the fastest, the strongest. We put them on a big field. They're nowhere near ready to play on a field that size at 11v11 at 13 years old. And so therefore, what becomes the focus? Well, let's get the fastest players on the field and get the ball to them and just let them run away from everyone else. And you don't really create footballers. You don't really play football. You play track with a soccer ball most of the time. And there was a comment on Twitter a few days ago by Joey Passy at Joey Passy. That's JoeyPassi, Joey Passy. And I want to just read you this thought, because as I was out there coaching last night, this thought kind of kept resonating in my head, and I think it's a really good reminder for all of us who work in player development, either as coaches or trainers, directors, etc. He said this: fast kids often get screwed in soccer development. They rely on their speed to beat slower players. Then they get older, and just using speed and a big touch doesn't suffice. Their footwork in tight spaces is also very limited. Often, it's the coaches not correcting this. It is such a good perspective about player development and our responsibility as coaches to always be looking at details and finding ways to create our training sessions and our player development environments to build players and develop players. I saw this play out last year with a player, first time he had ever played futsal, and he's a really fast kid, and his natural, where he had always found success on the field, was big touches and running. Well, in futsal, that wasn't working for him. He kept losing the ball. He was never faster than the ball. Because of the hard surface, he couldn't keep up. All of these things were causing him issues. And I watched that first night. I was not coaching or anything. I was just there. My son was playing. And I was watching this kid, and I talked to his dad, and I said, you just wait. He's going to adjust, and he's going to be a better player for it over the next few weeks. And sure enough, he did, and his game has changed since. He started to get more comfortable in relying on his skills. He's becoming a better, well-rounded, more developed footballer, and he still has his speed. He still has the ability to use that as a tool, but now it's not his only tool. And it's important for us as coaches as we're developing players in their weaker foot. You know, I had a couple players last night, one who's right foot dominant, another who's left foot dominant, and both of them at separate times while we were working in our rondos turned to me and said, Coach, my weak foot isn't working well. And it was such a funny comment. It was them expressing their frustration that their weaker foot was just not doing what they wanted it to do. And I just turned to them. I said, it's okay. It will soon. We'll get there. And that consistency of focusing on detail and assuring your players, hey, it's okay. It might be frustrating now, but we will get through this, and you will be better for it. As coaches, as directors, as players, that's what we should all be striving for, is pay attention to the details, find ways to get better, focus on the details, and when we do, we'll end up developing better players in the end. I hope you have had a great week. I hope you've enjoyed the show today. As always, you can watch on Facebook.com/WRKMN or on Twitter, on YouTube at DanielWorkman.com. Catch me on Twitter or Instagram at Daniel Workman. DMs are open, so feel free to send a message. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see everyone again on Monday.